All right, so I'm working on a feature right now. I essentially gave it some information. This is ChatGPT, and I said, I'm currently tracking calls completed. I want to have the states as green for completed calls or red for no answer, tracking mood, energy, daily tasks, symptoms, safety, emotional needs. And right now, 11 Labs is actually handling scoring these as data collection function in the call. And after the call is completed, essentially what's happening is it's going to pass those data points back to the Callwell app when the call completes. So I am prompting ChatGPT, letting it know I want to create a simple, intuitive, and easy to understand interface in the app so the CareCircle members can easily understand the well-being picture of their loved ones. Help me define a prompt for Lovable, which is a tool we're using to actually code this app and build it out. Gave me a response, and then I pretty much said, hey, I want to specify more clearly that I want this to be a side panel on the right hand side of the screen. And it took that into consideration. It spit out a prompt, and I put that into Lovable. Lovable has reviewed that. We've got a nice little flow chart here that it's rendered of how things are working. And it is suggesting a new table being the well-being assessments to store daily call results, some other adjustments here, calls this week. We've got like a well-being summary here, which is great, symptoms and any recent changes. I think that makes a lot of sense. And here we will accept these suggestions. And we're going to go ahead and build this out. We're going to implement the plan. So I expect this to take about 20 to 30 seconds is my best guess here. Typically it runs these plans pretty quickly, but will be updated kind of as things are going. So I'll implement the plan. Let me first check the dashboard structure, create the database schema and UI components. Used a few different tools here, which is reading the CareCircle dashboard, which is a page we're on right now. It's reading the index CSS, which is styling, and the tailwind config.ts, which is also some components for visualization. All right, it looks like it's creating the database migration and all UI components in parallel. So it's actually splitting itself out, doing sort of this database administration piece on one side of the coin, and the other side is being a front end engineer to build out these UI components. So this is really cool. So operating in parallel. So I'm using one tool, but the output that I get is essentially a full stack team of developers that are dividing and conquering and bringing this thing to life. So it is pretty interesting. Looks like it's editing a few different things: the types, well-being data, well-being summary, the call status grid. It's creating the well-being sparkline chart. It's creating a symptoms card. Also creating a card for recent changes. So it's building out this whole interface right now. So it's really exciting to see all the pieces that are coming together, all the different components that are being generated right now. But really, it's going to matter once it's done and we can see how it looks. All right, looks like something's happening here. Definitely more than 30 seconds. This is like a big feature, a lot of changes being made. But to be honest, like however long this takes, if this takes even a day to run this, that's still beating probably the sort of output of a software engineering team, like a traditional software engineer. If I had hired a software developer consultant on Fiverr or something like that, this would probably take like weeks to get this sort of functionality, if not, a number of many days. But in reality, right here live on this recording, we're seeing this thing come to life. So even if it takes a couple of tries to get this right or some tweaks, even after the fact, we're still winning. So, all right, it's continuing. It made one edit. It's reading through some stuff. Let me integrate the panel into the CareCircle dashboard. So it looks like it's almost ready. It has built this out, and now it's essentially connecting it to the panel. And when we start testing this after it's been generated, we're going to want to make sure that it is honoring the selection on the left side panel. We'll see it here in a minute when the page refreshes, but on the left-hand side, um, we have selected clients, which are the loved ones. So for example, for me, it would be my grandmother and my grandfather, and I want to make sure that when I select on my grandmother, only her stats are showing, and vice versa. If I'm selecting my grandfather, I only want to see his results. And that's important because as a CareCircle member myself, I might have multiple clients or multiple loved ones that I'm tracking. And in the future, perhaps we make this available to businesses and such as nursing homes or assisted living centers and or independent living houses, and we would have essentially care coordinators or health aides that would be monitoring this, or even doctors. They might have many different ones, so we need to make sure that everything is separate and clearly defined. Here in the chat here, we're seeing the database table has been set with proper row level security policies. So this is really important, actually, for those of you who are not familiar with this. This is, very standard for applications, especially those that need to be secure. So dealing with any sort of PII, personal identifiable information, you want to make sure that this is not able to be leaked easily. So having proper security standards in place. But this looks like it's done. So um, look at this. We got a new icon here, which is View Wellbeing. And I've got both of my loved ones on here. So I'm seeing that showing up. So look at that. So I selected Sharon. On the side panel, it's saying Sharon's well-being, which is great. Stable, everything looks good based on Sharon's recent calls. We see the calls this week, either answered or missed. There aren't any calls that are showing here. So all of them are blank, but we could see trends in mood, energy, daily tasks, safety, emotional needs, any symptoms, any recent changes. So I'm not quite happy with this as a finished product, but this is like an amazing first go. It's really only taken us less than 10 minutes here that we spent developing the prompt, running the prompt, having it implement a plan, and or define a plan first, and then most recently just now we had it implement that plan, and now we have the core building blocks of this. So next I will want to have a test call and see that all of the information is actually flowing through from 11 labs, and those data points are able to display here. See how I like that, and probably like a handful of rounds of revisions just to clean this up. This takes up a lot of space on the page, so I really want to be able to see all the information without having to scroll. And the other thing that I kind of have in mind, it would be nice to be able to show the avatar of the client here instead of just this heart there, and make it a little bit more personal and make it easier to track who it is that you're actually looking at. Final bit of feedback that I have at this point would be, I'm not sure if I want this to actually be this sort of modal side panel type thing. I think it would be okay for us to have this side panel open and just push the chat a little bit narrower, just because the chat takes up so much space, and I don't actually think we need it to take up that much space, truthfully. But being able to see everything on the same page without any of these like um, what are they called, shadow states, or yeah, I can't think of the word, but um, just to be able to see everything clearly here without it sort of opening up a separate modal would be my preference. But I'm really happy with this so far, and I'm glad to be able to show how simple and easy this was. So if you have any ideas for an app, I would highly recommend you give Lovable a try. I will share an invitation link, which will give you some free credits when you sign up, and it also helps out my channel. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you around.